Zoom room. If you could mute yourself, that really helps with the background noise. And I'm also going to be making my assistant, Jarrell, the host, because that way he can let people
Yes.
in. So he can let people in as I start to present. And we've got lots of cool things in store for you today. Oh, gee, and my screen share went away. Oh, dear. And I had it all set too. All right, well, that's okay. We'll get back up to speed. Jarrell, I think since you're the host now, you're going to have to give
Yes.
me, yeah, that's why the screen share went away. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I already let you share your screen. Yep.
excellent. Thank you. Yep, all these wonderful things with Zoom, but we just have to roll with it, don't we? So, okay, so everyone's doing a great job of muting themselves. This way I don't have to worry about people as they're coming in because Jarrell will let them in for me. Put in the chat where you are watching from because that's always cool to know where you're watching from today. All right, we're going to get right into it because we have a lot of things to cover. And I have a bonus for you and maybe another bonus. So let's get started. This is really the heart of the master class for landing an ideal.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you, Jarrell, for landing an ideal role without doing a job search. We all know we've experienced the job search process recently. It just doesn't seem to be working very well at all. Companies are doing job postings and they are getting hundreds and hundreds of resumes. And and if you're sending in your resume, if you're one of those people, what are we going to do so they see your resume, so they really are, so your resume doesn't get lost in the shuffle. It's really difficult to do that, to have it stand out. And that's why the whole process is broken. Jarrell, can you make sure too that everyone is on mute as well? So because I still hear some background noise.
Yes.
So we're going to help you to really be focused on, I love to try to apply the 80-20 rule whenever I can. That's the Pareto principle. I'm not sure if many of you have heard of that. Pareto, he was an Italian, I want to say he was a mathematician, and he discovered this when he was gardening. But it's that rule of 80% of the results that you get come from 20% of your actions of what you do. And you can really apply it to it because I'm sure like from different actions, from different projects, from your job search or your career, there's certain things that you do that seem to be very impactful. They're very effective versus all these other things that waste your time. And we want to zero in on that 20% to really use our time in the best possible way. Okay, and then the cool part of today is in about 15 minutes, we're going to have a special guest talking about, connection and what this person does. I'm going to be introducing them and asking them questions. But this is someone who attended the master class in the past, not this exact master class though, but someone who I consider who's done a very good job with their connection work. So I wanted you to have the opportunity to talk with someone who I feel does it very well. Okay, so again, day 3, it's about connection. And I love this wonderful quote from Brene Brown. It's the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. And when they can give and receive without judgment, when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. So connecting is key. And even though I'm covering this on day 3, it should be consistently done with your reflection work too. I did touch upon that on day 1. So try to view this, my process of reflection, plan, and connect, more like a triangle or a circle. So it's not so linear because it's really going on like that. It's not one and done. It's not so linear. Okay. And I've mentioned this before, I'm not a big fan of the word network or networking. it's okay, but I really like connecting best. I just feel that that's a better descriptor. And wouldn't you rather connect with people versus network? I know I would. Okay, so in our workbook, we had these tools for you. So with connection work, and again, I'm always hearing from people that, Christine, I don't have enough time. I'm so busy. Like one of the groups I belong to, it's a networking group of people at director level or higher. So it has a lot of C-suite, a lot of executives in it, obviously, who are in finance, accounting, and human resources. And in talking with a lot of those people, they're like, no, I just don't have the time. I'm too busy. It's like we all have 24 hours in a day. And you want to be proactive and not reactive. You want to set yourself up for success. So when it does come time for you to transition to a new role, or you just want to be prepared. You don't want to treat it, it's not like a fire that suddenly springs up that you have to put out. It's just the part of our professional cycle, of our careers. So nothing lasts forever. So that's why it's important to tend to your connections. Don't treat them like they're diamonds buried in your backyard and you don't do anything with them. It's important to dig them up and treat it more like a garden that you're taking care of. And even in the winter time, you're making sure that it's at least going through the winter time. It goes through those different cycles. Okay, so that's important. I have this sheet here to help you measure, because that's one of the big problems I think with connection activity is we remember that saying, we manage what we measure. It's important to try to measure your connection activity. So, and you can make a game out of it, but just so you're tracking yourself, so you're on top of it and you know what you're doing. So this sheet, and this is in the workbook, this is to make a game out of it and to really be able to measure your activity. So almost like you're at your desk in your home office and you're doing your work on your job search. Think of it as you're selling yourself, you're selling your brand, you're selling your values, you're selling your skills. And if you've ever been in a sales job, who knows, maybe you had a quota or you had a thermometer that the whole sales team was working on filling. Okay. Think of it this way, that's your job search. You are selling your brand, and all you need is one buyer to say, we need you on our team for this role. So, but you have to track it. You definitely have to track it. And you can start in as little as 5 minutes a day. That's all I'm asking you to do, is just to start with 5 minutes a day. And you can even, I would love it if you would use my little 30-day challenge calendar here, because sometimes we just need to track it somehow. Even if you just put an X across each day that you did your 5 minutes of connection activity. Okay. So what is that 5 minutes? What do I want you to do in that 5 minutes of connection activity? I'm sorry, I have to move one of my windows here. It's kind of annoying me here. Just start with, I really like the LinkedIn app for our cell phones. Okay. And you can reach out to people. What I recommend is, I want you to be making, like, staying in touch with your existing connections, and then also reaching out to new connections. So you can alternate if you're not in job search mode right now, because again, I want everyone to get started with this if you're not doing it. So today you could reach out to an existing connection just for 5 minutes. Hop on the LinkedIn app, look them up, and send them a message. Hey, we haven't talked in a while, whatever it is, but at least reach out to that person. And that's your 5 minutes. And if you have a little bit more time, you could do a little bit more. Then the following day, reach out to a new connection. Okay. And you might be like, well, Christine, I don't know where I need to make a new connection. This is why having a target company list is important, because remember I was talking about if you invest in the stock market, you may have some stocks that you watch, you have companies that you're watching. Why wouldn't you do that with your career? You'd have a watch list of companies that you're interested in, okay? And you can look, do you have any existing connections at any of those companies on your list? And maybe you don't, maybe you only have one. That's where you can go to in determining making new connections. And you can see if any of your existing connections might be able to help in making an introduction. That's the best way to go. It's not always possible, but it is something to consider. So, so that's something that I would like you to keep in mind. The company, think of that target company list as a GPS. If you're doing a job search, it's definitely the GPS for your job search. But again, remember, we're really trying to land an ideal role without doing a job search because we want to be doing the connection activity. So the GPS really is the guide for your connection activity. So yeah, and then so use this. They say that to build a habit, it takes at least 21 days. So if you were to start today, today is May 4th. Again, may the 4th be with you. But if you start today, and if you just do 5 minutes a day, what would be interesting? What do you think might happen at the end of this month, 21 days later, if you did that consistently? It would be a really interesting experiment to do, and I think it would be well worth it. If you are very time challenged and you're like, Christine, I don't know how I'm going to fit this in. Do you watch the news? Do you go on social media? I would propose that you replace those with 5 minutes on LinkedIn and use LinkedIn to facilitate your connection work. The messaging function in LinkedIn can be really helpful. You can send voice messages too. If you don't want to type, send a voice message. That is super easy. I sometimes like to send video messages too because I feel that's more personable. Social media sometimes can be cold and technology can be cold. So again, whatever we can do to more connect with people. That's why I like the video messages sometimes. So, so those are different things at your disposal that you can use to reach out to people. Here's my LinkedIn profile checklist here with the key things. And we can come back to this too, because I want to get started with our special guest here. So give me a second here. This is, I can come back to this too. This is, remember, my program, the 3 components of reflect, plan, and connect. So this is my diagram. Some of you have seen this already and some of you haven't. So, but I'll come back to that. So I will talk about that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and bring up our special guest. And I don't know, was he able to join? I'm not seeing him yet. Jarrell, let's see.
Yes.
I'm looking for Charles. Does he have our Zoom link?
Yes, I sent it to him already. Let me check.
Yes, let's make sure. Yeah, because we want to make sure that we have Charles able to get into the Zoom link. Hopefully he's not in the waiting room waiting for us to let him in. So we don't want that to happen. So yeah. So Charles will be talking about how he does his networking, his connection work rather, which I think will be really good for you to hear. He's been very consistent in his connection work, and I think you know, again, he'll be able to give you some good examples. So yeah, I'm just checking my email to see if he's having a hard time connecting. And I'm not seeing any messages. Maybe Jarrell check LinkedIn too, just to see if he's messaged
Yes.
at all. Okay.
Got it.
And then let me know when you find him, and then I will continue. I'm going to go back to one of my previous slides here. Okay, so the LinkedIn profile checklist. So it's important to keep in mind when you're doing your connection work, and especially when you're making new connections, but even with your existing connections, your LinkedIn profile is super important. It is like the landing page for your brand. Okay. It is, so you want to make sure that it is communicating your brand effectively and that it is SEO. And these are the important components of your profile, including your headshot. Your headshot, even though it's a picture, it's your brand. If I had to pick the one element of your profile that is your brand, it's your headshot. So I recommend you get a new headshot. You get that refresh like on an annual basis. That's a good thing. And then some people, you do, if you have the opportunity to get a video, I think LinkedIn is gradually rolling it out. I don't think everyone has the ability to do a video yet in their profile circle, you know, in your profile. But if you do, then you should do it because that makes you stand out from people. It's your opportunity. You're given 30 seconds to basically introduce yourself. And again, it makes you stand out. Yeah, it might be like, oh, I hate seeing myself on video. I don't want to do this. But I want you to stretch yourself. I really want you to do it again because it makes you stand out as a leader. You know, if you're a sales leader or marketing leader, you need to do this. It's really important. The banner photo, too many people think that the banner photo is not important, but it is. It's very important. It's critical because it's like a free billboard that communicates your brand. And you want to have pictures, you want to have all of that good stuff that communicates your brand. Pictures are very powerful. Images, colors, they're great in communicating our brand, and they're not to be ignored. Don't ignore it. Pay attention to it. That banner photo does make a difference. Your headline is very important. So your headline, your about section, and your experience section are all searchable. And they're searchable by recruiters, hiring managers, people who are on LinkedIn working on filling job openings, and they're trying to find you. Okay. They're doing all these different searches, and you want to come up for your ideal opportunities, the opportunities that you're interested in. Your headline and your experience section and your about section, they really need to have those keywords that make you come up in those searches. And you want to come up as close to the top as possible because you know that anytime you run a Google search, don't you typically just click on the first two things near the top? You don't really work your way all the way down to the bottom. So that's why, again, it's important to have a good headline, about section, and experience, but they're each different. So the headline is a summary of your brand, right? So again, think of the headline as a summary of your brand. LinkedIn gives us a lot of room for our headline, right? And I was talking with someone yesterday, and he made the comment of, "Well, I don't want to just jam all these keywords into my headline." And yes, that's correct. You don't want to just jam them in there. Oh, yes, Belle, you have an update for me? You got your hand raised. Oh, you're on mute, Jarrell. Hopefully Jarrell isn't having technical issues either. All right, well, we will see. I'm not sure. All right.
Hi there, Christine. Can you hear me?
we've got our special guest with us. Yay. Oh, I'm so glad you could join us. Hopefully, we didn't lead you astray with a bad Zoom link. I'm afraid we might have. So, but you're here now, so that's great. So here.
Well, I must be honest, we lost electricity on my residential block 5 minutes before 12. And I've been trying to understand what happened with the service, plus trying to get into my Microsoft Outlook remotely to get the link to join the meeting. But yes, I was able to join.
Oh, success. That's wonderful. Oh, of course. Those power outages always occur at the best time, don't they?
Always.
So anyway, so Charles, as I had said, Charles is a past masterclass participant, and he graciously offered to talk with us and just to facilitate, questions to help everyone. So, and I was so happy that Charles had volunteered because I've seen Charles do a really good job of connecting with people. And so I thought I would start by asking Charles some questions. And I want to encourage all of you to take advantage of this opportunity to ask him questions. Okay. So, I have my questions here. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So Charles, let me give you a minute or two. Why don't you introduce yourself first of all, if you don't mind?
Sure. My name is Charles Solomon Lopez, and I reside in Houston, Texas. I'm in the business of transformation and change, and I like to brand myself as saying change is my friend, and I'd like to make change your friend too. I see myself as a transformative leader, and I achieve success through stakeholder engagement. In terms of more specifically about me and my career, I am a global strategic finance change and transformation leader. I accomplish desired profit enhancement, process and cost improvement, and financial systems transformation objectives through data-driven fit-to-purpose solutions and cross-organization collaboration. In terms of my professional background, I'm anchored in two Fortune 20 companies, ExxonMobil and Hewlett-Packard Company. And right in the middle of both of those big corporate experience is over 10 years of being an entrepreneur.
Yes, awesome. We're so happy to have you with us. So thank you again for volunteering to talk with others. So let's just get right to the heart of the matter. So and I'm bringing up these questions because these are like questions that I'm often asked. Like, I think a lot of times we hesitate, we feel super uncomfortable, especially when making new connections. Okay. So Charles, what have you found that works best for you when you are making new connections?
Okay, I gave that question some thought, Christine, and I want to answer that two ways. One is more from a mindset point of view, and the other is more from a tactical point of view. From a mindset point of view, I suggest that everyone do not create networks or connections with the sole intention of getting something out immediately. Connecting and building relationships really should be the objective, and it's really better to give before you receive. Trust is important in building a relationship. A connection is a starting point, but your objective is building a relationship that's meaningful. Second, I'd like to say that when folks are embarking on building their connections or building relationships, they often have a fear. And I encourage people to push themselves from a fear to a growth mindset, where you're very actively seeking new contacts, new relationships. And it's really just part of continuous learning and development. In terms of tactical measures, I always recommend folks to seek out affinity points, whether that's same university, you were in a fraternity or sorority together, maybe a different city, maybe a different state, maybe even a different country. But look for those common points or intersections that you have with other people. People enjoy talking with others who have something in common. Plus, people like to talk about themselves. I also encourage folks to leverage social networking and professional organizations. That really starts the relationship with an affinity point. You're already a member of the same organization or civic group. And third, I suggest that folks engage in company or organization sponsored events. Examples could be career fairs. Specific corporations sponsor career days. Amazon does an annual career day. Or company sponsored webinars that are specific to a topic of interest or that are consistent with your career plan. All these are great ways to meet new and interesting people that you can add to your network base.
Awesome. That's great. Those are wonderful suggestions. And you made me think of, so remember people that others do like to talk about themselves. Remember, some of you may be familiar with Barbara Walters, and I think a lot of people are familiar with Howard Stern too, as controversial as he may be. Barbara Walters was an excellent interviewer, and Howard Stern is too, because really getting people to talk, to open up, and really showing a sincere interest in the person that you're talking with. So keep that in mind, and especially when you're in interviews, because if you're talking directly with the hiring manager, this person could have a big impact on you if you do take this role. So it really is, you want to really get to know them, and that's why connection is so important. So Charles, the next question for you is, how do you stay in touch with your existing connections? Like, what helps you to stay in touch with them?
First, what I do is I establish a priority system to moderate that follow-up process. And that priority system needs to be consistent with your career plan and goals. So for instance, and these are not hard and fast, but you could set up a system that accommodates follow-up on 30, 60, 90, and 6 months. I've always been told that you should at least make an annual contact with all of your contacts in your networks. So whether that be by LinkedIn, email, phone call, whatever, the mode can differ. But it's very important to have a regimented system in place that you follow.
Yeah.
And in terms of tools, I've mentioned that pretty much already. LinkedIn, of course, is the primary tool used by business professionals. But personally, I like to move the connection or the relationship from LinkedIn to email as quickly as possible, because I find that people respond much more quickly via email than a LinkedIn message. LinkedIn is great to make the initial connection, but you have to begin building that relationship through email, scheduling a one-on-one conversation to make it more personable, find those affinity points, and build trust.
That's a great point. Yeah, that is. LinkedIn is a wonderful tool, and I feel like we're not utilizing it enough. But at the same degree, not everyone is on LinkedIn often. I think more people need to utilize it. The other thing, though, that I want to highlight is we do need to always remember that social media it's not our platform. It's like rented space. Okay. So, and, who's to say that the LinkedIn of today, I mean, I'm hoping that it's still a good platform that I like, and they don't make changes to it that, I don't like, but it may change. So that's why I think it is a wise thing to work toward getting getting the email for your connections so you can stay in touch. So you're not relying totally on LinkedIn, on the social media platform, because I mean, we know what Facebook has done over the years since they've existed. I think LinkedIn has been very good and will continue to be good, but still it is a social media platform. So for those contacts, those connections that you really value, do have their email. It makes a lot of sense.
And a couple of other comments there, Christine, is that
Yeah.
if an individual is in a career exploration mode, it's highly recommended to place your phone number and email address while you're in that exploration mode in your contact or your About Me section of LinkedIn. Now, I like to move mine from LinkedIn to email because email, in my opinion, is much more secure. And since I have shared my phone number and shared my email address via LinkedIn, folks are scamming and phishing LinkedIn to harvest that information to go about their further scamming. I cannot tell you how many more scam related activities from email that probably generated from LinkedIn I've received in the last year. And I've called that out to Microsoft as my provider, and there's very little that you can do. You always have to have eyes open and ears open.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your experience on that. We don't need that time waster. We don't need to get mixed up with that either. So, okay. What about, how do you stay focused and on point with your connection work, to make sure that you're moving forward, and you're not going off in a rabbit hole or off on some tangent? How do you stay focused and on point with it?
Which is very easy to do, right, Christine?
Yes, it is.
Unfortunately, we're all human beings. I'm a very organized person by nature. So I set a weekly goal, and my minimum weekly goal of new contacts is 10, which I find very easy to accomplish based upon how I've built my weekly schedule. So set a weekly goal and take the action to consistently meet that objective. I highly recommend that you leverage your target company list to really guide the investment of time allocated to seek out and develop new connections and relationships, whether that be folks that are in a similar function, a target company that you've identified, or a target industry, or companies that you've identified that you relate well based upon their culture. And this is a place where you would like to work.
Yes. Yeah.
And then third, I have what I call it's a tickler file, and kind of an old word there, but I've renamed that of what's on top. And every week I prioritize what's on top for this week and then use that information to set my weekly plan of what I want to accomplish.
Great. That's awesome. That's really good. I do want to get to, there's been some questions. So first of all, I want to encourage everyone to put your questions in the chat. Okay. And then I need to answer this one really quickly. The featured section does not come up for me. I think that is new, right? I think it hasn't rolled out. Yeah, I think the featured section is available for everyone now. I think sometimes people think that you have to be in creator mode to have the featured section, but I know people that aren't in creator mode and they do have that. So, yeah, so I would suggest going to LinkedIn Help and trying to add your featured section. So that would be good. Here's a good question for Charles and I, and for the whole group. Let's talk about this because it's a good question. When you're in dire need of a job, how do you hold back asking for job leads or intros when you reach out, when you're connecting with people, when you're networking. I think that it's important in the spirit of connection and networking is to offer something to say, how can I help? So if you're reaching out to a hiring manager, to say, how can I help you? If you're not a fit for a role, if you can offer help maybe through your connections, I understand if I'm not a fit for the role, let me see if I can share it and help you, hiring manager, to find a candidate. Charles, what's your take on this? What do you think?
Well, first of all, let me advise everyone to never appear desperate. And building contacts and building relationships is a process. Most folks, unless you have an existing relationship with them and they know your background, they're not going to take action immediately based upon a networking conversation. So what I find is that it takes 2 to 4 conversations to maybe really get to that point where you want the relationship to go. Now, certainly I've had several differing experiences. Some people just automatically like to help. So in that first or second call, they'll jump forward and say, well, how can I be of help to you? But I think the conversations initially should be treated much more informational. You want to learn about the types of roles, the company, to identify if it's a good fit for you. And if you take that pressure off of, I'm in this conversation to see if I can get a job, it becomes a conversation. And then you're much more relaxed, and they are as well, so that you share information about yourselves and the topic that you want to talk about.
Yes, awesome. That's great. That's fabulous. Thank you so much, Charles. So I want to, we do have a hard stop at 12:45, so we only have 5 minutes left, but I do have some good news for all of you. I am doing a bonus session tomorrow. I know many of you are very busy, so I'm not sure if you'd be able to attend. But it will be a bonus session because I just felt that I wanted to kind of summarize it all for you. I wanted to give you more opportunity for Q&A. The bonus session is tomorrow at the same time, and it's 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to use the same Zoom link as well, but again, it'll be like Q&A and to just summarize everything, because I want to give you more of an opportunity to ask questions. There's at least one question in the chat that we're not going to be able to get to today, but I can certainly, if you want to email me your question, and then we can answer it that way. But I want to make sure that we do get all of your questions answered. That's really important. Also, too, the other big thing for tomorrow is that I'm going to be sharing my resource list with you. I'm always updating it, and I want you to have this resource list, because this is the resource list that I use when I'm working with my clients, okay? And I'm happy to share it with you. And then also, too, if you feel you need more help than just receiving this resource list, maybe you do want to do a session with me, or but again, it's totally like what you need, meeting you where you're at. So so I wanted to touch upon that as we wrap up in the next 3 minutes. Charles, thank you again for being here. Did you have any other, any final thoughts, any other final remarks that you'd like to share here as we wrap up, just regarding connection and how important it is, so you don't get stuck in wasting your time with
Sure.
objective.
Yeah, there was a couple of messages I wanted to share with your attendees, and it really kind of addresses your three keys. Um, so what I would recommend to everyone is be your own CEO of your career. And you can say that another way is own your own value. But you are in the business of you. And although we may not always think of ourselves as marketers or these strong communicators, the product that you have to sell and offer is you. And so that branding and that understanding of your value proposition that you bring to a new opportunity should be well understood and be well prepared to discuss during these conversations. And my closing would be I call these the Charles 5 Bs. Okay. And so when connecting or relationship building activities, I always reflect on these. Be interesting, be likable, be referable, be concise, and most importantly, be helpful. Always close your conversations with, how can I be of help to you? And the buy-in is just so much higher.
It is. It really is. And you want to stand out. You want to show how you're different from everyone else, and that's a great way to really stand out. So yeah. So thank you so much, Charles. I really appreciate it. And so yeah. So as we have, I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen one last time with everyone before I let you go in the next minute or two. Let's see. So again, we'll be doing a bonus session tomorrow. And when you attend that bonus session live, I'll be giving you my resource list. So it's a great resource list. I'm always revising it, updating it, and I think that you could get a lot out of it. But I want you to attend live so that way you get the most out of this. It's important for you to make yourself a priority and really, just make that time for you. So here we go. Let me share this. So again, it's not cooperating with me. Oh well. Well, we're at 12:45, so I hope to see you again tomorrow at 12 p.m. If you have any questions, though, that you haven't gotten answered, you can reply to our email and send us your questions. And that would be great because then we can make sure we get them answered tomorrow or in your email. But do join us tomorrow for the bonus session. We'll be wrapping everything up for you, and it's going to be 30 minutes. So it's going to be value packed. We're going to really efficiently use your time as well as possible. So thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. It was great to see you all. And thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Bye now. And thanks again, Charles. Take care.
Goodbye, all.
Bye.